Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Las Vegas. This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Going bell to bell with the best in professional wrestling news, entertainment, and lots of Sin City surprises from inside the squared circle. Now, let's get to all the exciting pro wrestling action and bring on the host. Here is Mark Hoke.
All right, everybody, good morning. What's going on? And welcome you to the Mark Hoke Show. Very happy to have you joining us today. And pretty exciting stuff going on here. It has been a hell of a week in pro wrestling, and we're going to bring it all to you here on KDAWN 101.5 FM, the talk of Las Vegas. And, of course, also streaming on the Odyssey app worldwide. Yeah, please download that app if you haven't, because you'll be able to rewind the show. And, of course, we're also out there on Podbean. If you want to subscribe to us on there, we'd certainly appreciate that. And we're also streaming on YouTube, X, and Facebook as well, so you can get in the chat box and say hi to us there. All sorts of great ways to enjoy the Mark Hoke Show. But we are very happy to have you joining us no matter what. I know it's I'm sure a lot of people lost a lot of sleep last night, and want to say our hearts go out to the victims of everybody that was involved in what happened yesterday in Pennsylvania. And, of course, glad that former President Trump is okay. But, of course, there was one casualty and 2 other people that got hurt. But our prayers go out to them. But a wild night in that, and want to just say you're in our thoughts. But, hey, we want to, of course, bring on, got a great guest for you. We are excited to have this guy join us for the whole show. We got 2 great guests. Of course, later on in the show, we're going to have Matt Black joining us here from WrestleZone.com. But from ad-free shows, I am very... Okay, wait. Okay, never mind. We're getting him on in a little bit. I'm sorry. We will be joined by Coach Rosey, Josh Rosenbaum, in just a little bit. He's gonna do a little errand, and then we'll have him on the show. So we'll get Coach on in just a few minutes. So as soon as he's finished doing what he's doing, we will get him on with us. But a very exciting week in pro wrestling, and we're gonna start in, of course, with everything that happened on AEW Dynamite, which has kind of stolen the show this week. You know, of course, WWE had a lot of hot stuff going on coming out of Money in the Bank, but the Owen Hart tournaments really kind of stepped in and got everybody's attention. So good for AEW. You know, they're starting to get a little bit of momentum back as we're leading into All In. And, of course, 2 big winners setting up the World Championship matches at All In, as first Bryan Danielson takes down the Owen Cup for the men, and he will be taking on Swerve Strickland. And boy, I'll tell you, what a great match that is going to be. And had an amazing match with Hangman Adam Page. Of course, the Hangman not too happy, to say the least, and he is going to be joining in the Blood and Guts match. He's not happy with that, and he's going to be teaming up with his old allies, the Elite. But Hangman Adam Page, oh boy, and he's cutting some great promos too. But we're going to see Bryan Danielson in the main event. And, when we get Coach Rosey back on, we'll talk a little bit about, who should go over in that match. I mean, just a few weeks ago on the show, I don't know if you were joining us, but, I said Bryan Danielson should get that world championship, give AEW a little bit of a boost and a little bit of familiarity. But, man, it's so hard to get rid of Swerve. It is so hard to get rid of him as world champion. It would be nice to, you could do a little flip-flop there, but tough. Oh, that is, I don't know. Coach Rosey's back. I'll let him get settled in here, and we'll get him on in just a second. Of course, the women, we saw Mariah May knock off Willow Nightingale, and then, shoo-hoo, as she took out Toni Storm and left her in a bloody heap. as she won the Women's Owen Cup, and she will face off with her now former mentor. And a nasty finish to that one. Wow. And that got the world talking. And let's get Coach Rosey in on the show. Very excited to have him with us. He's going to go with us the whole way, too. Josh Rosenbaum, Coach Rosey from Ad Free Shows. What's going on, my friend?
Man, it's been a wild couple weeks in wrestling and a wild couple weeks in the world, but I'm excited to be here today.
Yeah, very happy to have you with us. So, hey, let's get your reaction. Starting off with these winners for the Owen Cup, and on the men's side, let's go there first. As we had a big win for Bryan Danielson, and now we have a very difficult decision, I think, for Tony Khan. I'm sure they've had it planned out for a while, but who do you put over, Coach? Does Bryan Danielson walk out of All In with the World Championship, or do you keep it on Swerve, who has just been doing an amazing job? I think this is a very difficult call. I really do. I had said a while back, I'd love to see Bryan Danielson get the World Championship, give it to him for a while, get him out there, maybe bring some old WWE fans back in that were familiar with him, and maybe get those guys, those WWE people, into AEW again. But man, Swerve has been so good. He's been so good. Who's your guy? Who's your guy, Coach? Put him in. Who is it?
I swerve when I drive. I mean, Swerve's my man. And I have to consider Bryan Danielson as an honest person. He said he didn't want to win the world championship. He didn't need it. So if it's a Bryan Danielson decision, I think he's cut from a different cloth. I think he wants to put guys over. And I think that could be the case when it comes to London, because Swerve is the future. He's got a great role going. And him against MJF, Ospreay, Hangman, those are some epic matches. Bryan Danielson doesn't need the title to get over. But if they do want to bring in more people, I can see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's really tough because I love Swerve. And this build is going to be fantastic. I got to interview Swerve a little bit before he won the world title, and just the preparation that he does and how he approaches a feud and what he does to get ready to do promos against opponents, and how he digs and tries to find these little things that he can say and do that are going to really put a feud over is incredible. And man, I don't want to see him lose, but at the same time, man, it would be great to see Bryan win. So this is going to be fun. I can't wait to see the work that these two are going to do together. And boy, you almost want to draw. I almost want to draw.
Complete shoot. I'm drinking Nana's coffee right now. That's how much I support Swerve and Nana.
Oh, nice. There you go. I don't have either of that, but I do have something here. I have some Prime, Logan Paul.
There you go.
I'm still out there for you, buddy. But I'm going to get that $1 million. I got that X thing going. I'm working on it. I'm going to get that $1 million from that son of a gun. He owes me anyway. Well, he doesn't owe me anything, but it'd be nice to have him come on the show. But so we've got that side of it, the women's side, and boy, this got everybody talking. A great end to the show on Dynamite with Mariah May winning the women's Owen and then just absolutely destroying Toni Storm. And, I've talked about the use of color on Dynamite, that sometimes they do it too much. This worked. This actually worked. And man, I'll tell you what, I think it's propelled Mariah May to a new place. I think everybody just thought she was this, kind of crazy blonde girl, but now I think people are going to take her a lot more seriously too. And man, the war that is going to take place at All In and the build up for this, I think this is going to be an amazing run too. Credit to Tony Khan, and they did a nice job building this. And even before you knew it was coming, and you kind of knew it was coming, they did a lot of nice little hints along the way. But this is going to be an outstanding match coming up at All In too.
Yeah, and for those people that say Tony Khan can't tell stories, this was an example where he really did tell a wonderful story by bringing in all the tidbits with the shoe and with the tension that they had at the match they just had in New York. It built and built and built, and what didn't she do? She didn't watch out for the shoe, Nope. So the layers were there, the storytelling was there. There's kind of been a lull in the women's division in AEW, but with this storyline and what we're going into London, it's really picked up with Britt back as well.
Yeah, the women's division is on fire in AEW. And, it's interesting. We were talking about just a couple of weeks ago on the show about the storytelling with Tony, and, sometimes the shorter stuff doesn't go as well, but that long-term storytelling that they do in AEW is pretty fantastic. It can be vulnerable sometimes to injuries and things like that, and we've seen their momentum get shut down because of that. That, for example, what happened with MJF and Adam Cole, that unfortunately what had happened to both of them really killed that storyline, which I thought was fantastic until, like I said, everybody just, went down, which was a shame. But man, I'll tell you, this has been a lot of fun. And, now you mentioned, of course, also with the ladies, now we get Britt Baker and Mercedes Mone. And man, I'll tell you what, I'm such a huge Britt Baker fan. I mean, she knows it too. She knows I love her to death.
EMD, day one, a pillar, someone that we saw at the first Double or Nothing in 2019 in Vegas, and it's just continued to grow and grow and grow. And she was really vulnerable. I mean, I didn't know that she suffered through all that stuff. I just thought it was an injury or taking some time off. But Britt's a warrior, and she's going to come back bigger and better than ever. I hope she wins the title in London. I think it's a little quick. I think they're going to build up a little bit more. But, Miss Mone is definitely developing the heat that's going to be necessary for the payoff when Britt beats her.
Yeah, and I'm not totally sold she's going to lose, but I do think that this has now pulled her up a little bit. I think some people were a little disappointed with the start of her run here in AEW, but I'll tell you what I think did the job. Her little Bret Hart mocking last week. That reminded us of how much of a little minx she can be. I can't say the word that I want to say because we're on terrestrial radio, but but she turned up the heat of the last couple of weeks and just reminded us of how good she can be. And this match is, I wasn't that excited about it right off the bat, but now I am. Now I'm ready. And the AEW women's division, you start looking over that roster, and it's pretty good. They have a fantastic future. Probably wouldn't mind seeing one or two additions yet, but they're on a roll. And you've got some great people at the top. This is going to be a lot of fun. And, you're almost more excited for the women than the men. I mean, these are going to be two great matchups with four great women leading the way. I'm thrilled, Josh. This is going to be outstanding.
And I'm going to play a little Nostradamus right here. I think Jamie Hayter is going to come back and cost Britt the title when they get to London. I hope that's not the case. Obviously, I'm for Britt, but I think Jamie Hayter is going to come back and be a part of this trio storyline as well. Plus, the girls got a third storyline that's really developing, too, between the Virtuosa, Deonna Purrazzo, and Thunder Rosa.
Yeah.
That's going to be an interesting one as well. So, like we said, the women's division's hot in AEW.
Yeah, and they're almost back to full strength, too. And once again, they just got devastated by injuries. Rosa was out, and Britt was out, and Jamie went down, and now the only two really that are out are Jamie and Julia Hart. Jamie's going to be back pretty soon. We're still waiting on Julia. I mean, that was kind of a rough injury that she took. But, they're almost ready to completely roll again. Let's just hope they can stay healthy. God, it would be great. Because Jamie getting back for All In, I mean, it's a shame she missed it last year. They got to find something for her to do if she's ready to roll. So that would be cool. But yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and All In's still just starting to shape up. I'm ready to go to England, man.
Do it. Unfortunately, I won't be able to go this year, but I'll be in Chicago for All Out. And I like how there's a 2-week difference, too. They can build a couple things up instead of just shotgunning it like they did last year.
Yeah, that was a little rough. But, yeah, this is going to be pretty exciting. And I'll tell you what, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, there's a lot of stuff going on in the WWE women's division as well. This has been a pretty interesting time for the ladies, including one that kind of chapped everybody a little bit. But, we'll let it go, I guess. But we'll talk about it. So when we come back, we're going to keep going with Coach Rosey, Josh Rosenbaum here on the Mark Hoke Show. Don't forget Matt Black from WrestleZone is going to join us in the second hour. Stick around, everybody. We'll be right back here on KDAWN on the Mark Hoke Show.
.1015 FM KDAWN. This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Here again, your host, Mark Hoke.
And we're back on the Mark Hoke Show here on KDAWN 1015 FM, the talk of Las Vegas. Streaming on the Odyssey app and live streaming out there on YouTube, X, and Facebook. Hey, subscribe, please. Wait, I'm going to ask. Just do it. On YouTube, of course, the Mark Hoke Show, Facebook, the Mark Hoke Show, and at Mark Hoke Show on X. We would certainly appreciate it. That will bring us joy and happiness forever. Right, Coach?
Yeah, hi, son. He's watching me up in college right now, so I love you, son.
Hey, there you go. Hi, son. What's going on? My daughter's actually out in North Carolina right now visiting the ex's family, so hope she's having a good time out there.
Amen to that.
She's probably not watching. She's out running around with ducks and stuff like that, so it's all good. But
yep.
A lot of movement on the women's side in WWE as well, Coach.
Yes.
Stephanie Vaquer, of course, just made that appearance on at Forbidden Door and hopped right to WWE. They threw a contract at her faster than the Flash could have gotten it to her, I think. She kind of upset some people a little bit at CMLL. Does it really matter, though? You're around a lot of these, some top professionals at ad-free shows. Did her missing out on some dates and skipping out on them really hurt her at all? Unless disaster strikes or something down the road, but I think you kind of have to understand it's WWE. When they come knocking, you answer the door.
Yeah. Yep. The days of loyalty and finishing your dates, not saying that it's a bad thing that they're not doing it today, but guys in our generation would have completed the dates, but I can completely understand. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity to get to WWE, and it's happened before in pro wrestling, and it'll continue to happen. It's once you got your shot, you got to seize the moment. So I have no problem with it.
Yeah. By the way, if you were watching and you want to give us your opinion, hop in that chat box and say hi. I'm curious to hear what people think about that, because there's loyalty, and when you sign a contract, you finish it, or do you just say, you know what, I'm in the big time now, I'm good. So tell us what you think. But certainly a great break for her to go to WWE. Although I'm wondering if Tony Khan's a little upset that he gave her a showcase and she took her talents elsewhere. I'm curious about that. I think I'd be steaming a little bit, but you didn't have her under contract, so what are you going to do? But off she goes.
That's business. That's business.
Yes, it is. Well, another person who did business was Natalya, and she re-signed with WWE. While I think it was expected that she would, I was advocating for her to give AEW a shot. And while I understand, her husband's there, she's been there a long time, obviously is very well established in the locker room, I thought it would have been fun to see her in AEW taking on a new challenge. And Yeah, and I think Toni would have treated her with a lot of respect over there, and maybe and probably pushed her to be the world champion at some point. And I thought it would have been a great addition. But at the same time, I understand her deciding to stay with WWE. A lot of reasons to stay there. What were your thoughts on the news of Natty signing back with WWE on a multi-year deal?
I love it. WWE is her home. To be with her husband, who's a big-time producer on the women's side, the legacy of her father, and the fact that we've seen some old WWE talent come to AEW and the fans really not latching on to them as opposed to the men stars that have come over from WWE. So I think she wanted to end where she knew that she would be revered and go out in her blaze of glory, her retirement sequence where she can be celebrated. And I love it. Natalya is maybe not the wrestling type that the AEW crowd would be looking for, maybe as a managerial, general manager or something like that. But in WWE, she can really put over these young stars that are coming over from NXT and have her flowers at the same time.
Yeah, I hope she gets one more chance on top, because I have been such a big fan of Natty's, and I think they just didn't use her right at all. And I don't know what it was with Vince and her that they just, I think back to the whole gassy thing, for one. That was one of the most horrendous things that I've ever seen a promoter do to a performer. That was terrible. And why, of all people, why would you do that to Natty? It was ridiculous. And the fact that hasn't had many chances on top just blows me away, as good as she is. So I thought it would have been fun to see her go to AEW and get a shot, because I'm sure Toni would have put her up there. But, it's a different time in WWE, and, going away from her husband would have been very difficult, I'm sure. So I get it. And I hope things go well for her. And I notice she's been doing a lot of mentoring and coaching, and that career is going to be there for her as long as she wants it. So, in a different era. So I'm happy for Natty, and I hope she got a lot of zeros on that deal.
I think they might even move her over to some of those A&E shows, hosting different things. She's a beautiful lady who's got wisdom in wrestling and can use her skills in a lot of the WWE empire.
Yeah, they need to feature her a lot more. So wish her all the best, and hopefully she stays happy in WWE. Now, there was another situation that's come up over there that they pulled Jade Cargill back. And this is intriguing. I was one that said they should go slow with her and, maybe even give her a run in NXT. And there's a lot of people that have come into WWE with a lot more experience that they started in NXT. And I almost felt like when they brought her into WWE, they slotted her in there to almost say, hey, look, we stole your toy, Toni. It was that kind of felt like that to me, but I felt like they rushed her. And then when you saw some missed spots at Clash at the Castle, and it just, you just knew something was a little bit off. And it's nothing against Jade. I think that she is going to be a generational talent in time, but I think what everybody forgot was when she came into AEW, she only had wrestled about 70 matches in her career. And going into WWE and doing some of the things they were asking her to do, that you have to be at a little higher level than that. And when you're going into a triple threat tag team match with people that are a lot more experienced than she was. You look at the group that she was in there with, that was that was a group that if it would have been anybody else, there's no way she would have been in with those people. So this is going to be very interesting to see what they do with Jade Cargill Coach, and I'm curious to hear what you think about what they're going to do with Jade from this point, because, man, now you put the brakes on a little bit. This is a little awkward for her.
Yeah, but if she wants to be in the big time, she's got to learn that WWE system. And whether that's more time at the Performance Center or more time in promo classes, workshopping different things, I think she's dedicated. She was a college basketball player, so she has the work ethic and the determination to make her dreams come true. Yes, she was pushed hard. They tried giving her the Bianca Belair rub. It worked for a little while. But I think they're going to cool her off and get her a new coat of paint and bring back Jade in a way that we might have never have seen before. So there's a lot of options. Who knows? Maybe she can go to the Wyatt family. Maybe she can do this. Maybe she can do something else, because WWE has been surprising us with things that, a lot of us haven't even come up with in our little predicting mode that we get into. So there's a lot of options for Jade. Maybe she goes into that speed program where it's those minute and 30 matches so she can get a couple squashes in. So there's a lot of things that they can do with Jade to get her back on top.
Yeah, I think that it was one of those things where, AEW was booking her properly for the talent and the experience that she had, because when you look back on it, it was kind of, and I don't want to insult Bill Goldberg, but it was Goldbergy. She would come in a lot of mostly shorter matches, squash people, because that was, she was a beast. She's coming in there. She's bigger. She's stronger. She's faster than everybody else. She should be going in and destroying people. But, you move her into a situation with WWE, it's a little different. There's a lot of great athletes in WWE. So you're not, even though you are still a very dominant physical figure, it's not like it was in AEW where she doesn't stand out physically quite as much. So it was a tricky spot for them. And I mean, you're going in there and, you think about some of the physical figures that there are in WWE. Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Shayna Baszler. I mean, there are people that could physically match up with her in WWE as opposed to AEW, where you really didn't have many people that could do that. So there was a huge difference there. And I don't know if WWE really anticipated that. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'm curious to see what happens, Coach.
And I hope the best for her. I mean, NXT I think would be a good move down, because those girls, nothing against them, but she can dominate those girls. I mean, there's a couple bruiser women in NXT, but I think she can go in as the Storm is coming and really bring a Storm to NXT. And I think, again, that would be that little extra dig on the AEW now with Ethan Page being champion. You make Jade the champion. NXT is getting more viewers now than Dynamite. So, I think the war is not as blatant as it was between WCW and WWE back in the day. But I think in the back room, I think Triple H wants to show and exert his dominance, not to crush AEW, but just to show him who's boss.
That's interesting that you brought that up, because, I wanted to talk about that. So, let's shift that way a little. The ratings in terms of NXT are really good. We've seen them matching Dynamite, and it's more, they've come up and Dynamite's been down a little bit, but NXT's putting on a great product. And is it more because they're bringing the TNA guys in? Is it because just the talent's better? I mean, what do you think has propelled NXT at this point to getting to this level? Because I watched the show and it's a great show. No, but they are doing some things to kind of push it up with maybe bringing main roster guys down, adding TNA people, and doing some extra stuff that they weren't doing in the past.
Well, I'm the perfect person to speak on this because I was not a regular NXT viewer. I'd catch the clips on whatever social media site. But over the last month or two, I have been watching NXT live because of the people that they're bringing in. I love all ego Ethan Page. Once he came over, that popped me. I'm watching it. Once Joe Hendry showed up, boom, I'm watching it. Because you never know, the Rascals, you never know who is going to show up at NXT. So we don't have just one event of Forbidden Door. It's a weekly Forbidden Door on NXT, and I'm there for it because I don't want to catch it on social media. I want to see it live to see who they're going to bring in, because it could be Matt Hardy one week. It could be Moose. It could be whoever. But you know what? They're making stars. Braun Breaker, Tiffy, all this type of stuff. NXT is truly, truly a developmental system that is making the stars of the future and validating people that have been stars that weren't used properly. Now they're coming in, and you can really start to see them shine.
Do you think TNA is going to regret this? You know, I think it's good for them to get the attention, but at the same time, now you know when you're seeing people from TNA go over there, Jordan Grace is gone. You know, Joe Hendry is going to be gone. And a lot of, the Rascals, now that they got their guys over there, good possibility they're going to be gone. This could be almost a move to loot TNA a little bit. I mean, they're going to have to be. I think TNA is going to have to be a little bit careful here, because if they don't watch this, WWE's just going to start. Oh yeah, you know what? This guy got a pop. Contracts up, gone. Contracts up, gone. Contracts up, gone. This is. I mean, I think it's good in a way, but you don't want WWE taking every good person you got.
Well, WWE has to start reciprocating TNA by sending over some people to fight on their show as well.
Yeah.
But you could be right there. And, TNA, they're looking for views. They're looking for ratings. They're looking for, oh my gosh, you saw Joe Hendry on NXT. Now come watch us on their night. So they are, it's reciprocal. WWE is using their stars. And TNA is thinking, maybe I can get that little NXT WWE rub, and then our viewership will increase. It's a bold move by TNA, and it could backfire, but it could also help them. And that's the beauty. We're going to be able to sit back and see what happens to these stars, because these are people that have been fighting for a long time, wrestling for a long time, and now are finally getting their opportunity for exposure. And we'll see what they're going to do with it. Is it going to be the same thing as we saw with the lady from Mexico going over and breaking a contract or doing that? That's to be seen at a later date. But I think TNA is trying to increase viewership by any means necessary. So it's a bold move.
Yeah. And, you mentioned about WWE sending people over there. I remember when they first started this and they were bringing people, TNA started sending their people over there. And all of a sudden, Moose is like, man, it'd be fun to wrestle Drew McIntyre, or, hey, I'd like to wrestle Obafemi. Well, let's do it. Send some big names over there to put on their shows, and not just, Tatum Paxton. So, if you're going to do it, hey, send John Cena over there on this retirement tour. Could you imagine what that would do for both of them if Cena showed up and wrestled a match on TNA? Now, if you're gonna do this relationship, you're right. It's got to go both ways, Coach. It has to, because if you're not going to send maybe for at least a TV taping a month, and send one big name over there to really pop this off, what good is it really to a point doing TNA? I mean, it's exposing their stars, and you're getting TNA chance on NXT, which is cool, but at the same time, oh man, you're opening it up. I talked about this last week on the show with the New Japan relationship with AEW, and it was nice in the beginning, but now look what happened. AEW swallowed up all of New Japan's top guys. They're all on the AEW banner now. And now New Japan's trying to get all this figured out, and they're left with a lot of their older guys and then having to develop these young guys, but Okada and Ospreay and all those guys are gone. It's a risky proposition.
It is. I mean, AJ right now is in Japan fighting somebody. Wouldn't that be great for AJ to come over and fight anybody in TNA?
Yeah.
I mean, or the Hardy Boys fighting the NXT Tag Team Champ. I mean, there's a lot of things that could be done. So, I mean, I would love to see AJ Styles fight another match in TNA. I'd love to see, the Machine Guns fight here, there, and everywhere. So it's open now. Tony Khan opened the forbidden door. Is he gonna regret it? Because now it's opened on a regular basis. Now WWE with their new ownership plan can see that we don't need to do the old traditional technique of keeping guys with us. Why not use this, that, and the other, and leave AEW off to the side? Again, is that another little poker prod? You never know. I don't see any AEW guys getting invited over to WWE. Just saying.
Yep, very, very true. All right, hey, we're going to take another break, and when we come back, we're going to keep it going with Coach Rosey from Ad Free Shows. Of course, if you haven't gone to adfreeshows.com, so many great podcasts over there. And we're going to talk about one of his guys, Jeff Jarrett, who just did an amazing job for that Owen Hart tournament. Oh, my God. So stick around there. We got a whole lot more. Plus, Matt Black from WrestleZone is going to join us, too, in hour 2. So stick around. We'll be right back.
101.5 FM KDAWN. You're listening to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Vegas, The Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Now, here again is Mark Hoke.
All right, let's keep this rolling. It's the best in professional wrestling right here in Las Vegas on KDAWN 101.5 FM, the talk of Las Vegas. Streaming on the Odyssey app. Download that right now, AUDACY. And streaming on YouTube, Facebook, X, just everywhere. We don't go away. It's like a bad cold. Just can't get rid of it. Or an itch you can't scratch. Just a lot of fun. Having a great time. Of course, we got Coach Rosey, Josh Rosenbaum from adfreeshows.com joining us. Matt Black from WrestleZone is going to be added to the party in hour number 2. Boy, you can't beat that. Having an awesome time. Coach, a lot of people have been talking about Jeff Jarrett, of course, he's got that great podcast over on Ad Free Shows, and the performances that he put on during the Owen Hart tournament were just absolutely phenomenal. And the promos that he cut reminded us a little bit about just how good Jeff can be. He's played so many obnoxious characters over the years. But, I got to interview Jeff and face-to-face a while back. And I think people forget sometimes just because of the characters that he's tended to play, of the knowledge that he has, the character that he really is in real life. He's got a lot of wisdom to him. He studies, very knowledgeable dude. Somebody you want to be around because you're going to learn whenever you get near him. And, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on Jeff and, what it's like to be working with him, because I know you guys are really good friends.
Well, I just started as a fan with Ad Free Shows, and Jeff just took a liking to me, and I just got lucky. But that shows the true mastery of Jeff Jarrett, because if people believe that what his character is, he's doing a heck of a job, because everything that everybody hears on the show is, man, I hated Jeff Jarrett. I thought he was the worst character ever. But you know what? Since hearing My World, I love Jeff Jarrett. You know, we hear that all the time. Jeff Jarrett is a traveling nomad of wrestling. He watches the product. He studies the product. And not only that, he brings in a practical, whole world approach, pragmatic. Jeff, to me, is the Yoda of professional wrestling.
He is, you know, when I met him, I was just taken aback. And I knew that because of, you know, everything that he's done, that, you know, there's a wealth of knowledge there going back to his dad. But I just never knew how deep of a personality he had, because I was expecting him to be a little obnoxious, and he's not like that. You know, he's not. You know, it's the character that he plays, and it was really cool to see that come through for the Owen Hart tournament, and I wish he'd do more of that. I think that would be fun to, as he's getting later in his career here, to see him be more of that instead of the guy that's swinging a guitar all the time. I think people really enjoyed it.
Well, if you listen to the last couple of weeks of My World, Jeff speaks on, you know, the whole process of the Owen Hart tournament. And if anybody thinks that the promos that he gave about the Owen tournament was a work, you're crazy. Jeff is a passionate person. He wears his emotions on his sleeve. So if you ever wanted to see a true picture of who Jeff Jarrett was, those promos, whether it was before the match against Hangman or going into being the enforcer, that's the real Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett is a man of principle. He's a man that will look you in the eye. He'll take a time for a young wrestler. He'll take a time for a up-and-coming podcaster like Mark Hoke. You know, he will take the time for anybody because he is an ambassador of the sport of pro wrestling. Owen Hart meant the world to him. I still can't imagine how he had to go out and give that promo after the accident with Owen. You know, he's strong, he's loyal, and he's faithful. You know, Jeff Jarrett is what pro wrestling is about.
Yeah. So, you know, just a reminder, you know, of course, you can go to adfreeshows.com and, you know, hop on. There's a ton of great shows on there from some of your favorite personalities. I mean, it's like a hit list for me. I love those guys, man. They're, you know, so many terrific guys on there, like, you know, Kurt Angle and, you know, Eric Bischoff. I mean, just JR. I mean, Conrad, can't forget Conrad. He's running the show over there. It's a terrific group. So make sure you check it out. Well, we're going to have a lot more to talk about when we come back for hour number 2, because we got Matt Black from WrestleZone coming on, and Maddie and Josh and me are going to have it out on a whole lot of fun stuff. If you haven't heard Matt Black, oh, man, he speaks his mind. We'll just say that. It's a lot of fun. So stick around.
Go hydrate during the break to get ready for him.
Yeah, you better. Yeah. So stick around, everybody. We got a whole lot more coming up on hour number 2 of the Mark Hoke Show. Coach Rosey and Matt Black should be a terrific time. Hour 2 of the Mark Hoke Show. We'll be right back.